Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra Kaye, and I am sitting here with Donovan, a recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner. And it is, I'm assuming, cold there, so he's drinking coffee. It's hot here, and I'm still drinking coffee. So watch me sweat as we do this. I'm just kidding. But nevertheless, the purpose of the Demetra Kaye Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even because we are great people and we can always strive to do better. Also, like to say that we are not live. This is our podcast, but we will be back live later at 5 p.m. What we'll talk about, I don't know, but it'll probably be politics unless something else interesting has popped off. In the meantime, we're going to talk about three topics. One is of a sister who works in a nursing home, and she's talking about the state of Black men that are in there. We're also going to be talking about a video from Michael Porter Jr., who is a basketball player for the Nuggets, and he talks about when he'll be ready to date. And then we're going to go into a video from Harley Initiated, which I really love that podcast. And it has Selena Johnson, who is a singer, on there. And she's talking about women setting boundaries. So Donovan and I are going to have a good conversation. I'm sure it'll be spirited. We're going to see. But in the meantime, Donovan, what's going on with you?
Welcome to the podcast. Again, we are not live, but we want to thank you guys. You guys want to hear some good content, some great stuff. Join us on Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Time for the Demetra Kaye Show. I mean, not only do we have great topics, but it was an open forum Sunday, and you guys come up with the subjects, and we go into the conversation. So a lot of stuff was going. So I was really happy to be a part of that. So again, if you guys look at the bottom, we have a scrolling banner. 100% of your donation goes to the content creator if you use that banner. If you choose not to use that banner, which is your point, we appreciate everything that you guys contribute, but just know that the content creator only gets 60% of what you donate. And I'm very sure when you donate, you want to give 100% of your contribution to the content creator. Also, do not forget to download the African Diaspora News Channel app or on YouTube itself. Become a member, subscribe, become a member. A lot of great information that's going on over there. Have you guys noticed that the focus has been taking off of Haiti and what is going on in Haiti and how they're going to do it? No news. You don't see it on the national news. You don't see it on anything. But if you go to the African Diaspora News Channel app, you'll get some information there. Also, what's going on in Africa in regards to millions matter of fact, a couple billion of your tax dollars went to build a base in Niger, and Niger kicked the United States military out after all of that money was spent to build that. And again, a lot of great information there that's going on in South Africa. A part of Cape Town wants to separate themselves from Africa. And again, I know I get messages all the time, Demetra, with people telling me, why do you keep bringing up Africa when you've got issues here in the United States? Because you got to look at the parallels of what goes on. What happens to them affects us, and what affects us affects them. So again, we have to, I know, people are Pan-Africanists. I'm not a Pan-African person, but the point is I'm smart enough to know that when it comes to Black skin, and let's look at the Democratic policy here in the United States when it comes to immigration. Isn't it funny? Everybody else can come here unless you're Haitian and you got Black skin. You're sent back immediately. So again, what happens to them basically tells you what happens to us. Joe Biden is down in the polls. What has he done to stimulate Black voter interest in his campaign? Absolutely nothing. You want to know why? Because he doesn't have to. You're going to vote for him anyway. We got to talk about it. So let's get into this, Demetra. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be an interesting subject. My mind is a little blown, but I'm going to do my best to stay on topic.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into this first video. Again, I saw this on TikTok and I thought it was very interesting. And it's about a sister. So it's actually two sisters. And on TikTok, they call it a stitch, where one video is played first, and then the person who wants to talk about it, piggybacks onto it. So they're basically talking about the Brothas. So here we go.
If you look at these hospitals and these statistics, actually, the nurses will tell you that the people who die alone are men. It's not.
I don't care what anybody has to say about what I'm about to say, because in my almost 20 years as a nurse, the most bitter, angry, nasty, rude patients are middle-aged to old Black men that have never been married. I don't know if it's because they feel like they never had a woman that loved them or took care of them. And a lot of them, here's what happened. There was a player, there was a hoe, they played the field. They had lots of the girl that got away. And now when they old and used up and sick, don't nobody want them. Now you mad at the world. But when you had some good ones, you ain't do them right. But those are the most difficult patients. And I hate it. I hate that for us, because why do we do that to our own people? I'm here to help you. Instead, you rather be a bitter asshole. Talk to y'all uncles, grandpas, and daddies, because if they want to be like that, keep them at home. Why y'all don't take care of them?
Donovan?
Oh, you want me to comment on that?
What's your opinion? You know, they
bullshit, straight bullshit. Excuse my language, but it's straight bullshit. Sorry, it's straight bullshit. I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, you got an opinion, what it seems to me, by two bitter Black women. Now, if you had an Asian woman that said that, or somebody that outside of the diaspora, I would say, wow, that's kind of unusual for an outside type person to come to that observation. Now, I do want to say this. She was describing the exact opposite of bitter Black women. So I would agree what she's saying is, because what did she say? Oh, the player type guys, the guys that had this, that they could do it themselves. They've never been married, right? Look at the flip of the coin. She's describing exactly the independent Black woman. It's the same thing. So it's not just, oh, the men are just angry, whatever. Look at these aunties that y'all got that's giving y'all bad advice and sabotaging y'all. It's the same exact thing. So what I'm saying is that pool, I would say, is biased, because it seems to me, from what I picked up by their demeanor, that they're biased against Black men themselves. So that's what I picked up. I could be wrong, but I'm getting Black men ain't nothing, whatever. I don't like Black men, whatever. See what I'm saying? So that's what I got out of it. So that's all I got to say about it.
Oh, Lord. So basically, both of those sisters are speaking on their knowledge of Black men in nursing homes. I want to say this right off the top. This is not an indictment of Black men. It's a discussion, because I know how some of y'all get in y'all feelings about a conversation that we are having. So I just want to say that, because unfortunately, I have to say that. But anyway, those sisters are giving their opinion about their knowledge of older Black men in nursing homes. Apparently they work there. So they're saying from what they see, and I would have imagined if they're nurses in a nursing home, that is a professional experience, not biased. Okay. Because they, have the firsthand knowledge as also being in the medical field. So that's why I'm saying that is professional. It's not the first time that we have heard that. But to say that if it was an Asian or white woman or somebody else to say that, then that would give it more validity. That's almost in the same vein of the white man's ice is colder than ours. It's also saying like the white woman's advice and knowledge is better than those sisters. Now, are those sisters disgruntled? I don't know. I don't know them personally. I'm just going off of what I see. But I would also say that I too know and have firsthand knowledge of some brothers, not all, because not all brothers are in nursing homes. So let's just get that out the way. But there are, I know of some brothers who are older and they have tricked off a good relationship. They are in need of somebody to help take care of them. And they do tend to be on the bitter side. And so I would say to combat that, get, with somebody, as they say in the nation, settle down to a good choice. But unfortunately, not even just Black men and not even just men. There are a lot of people who are older and they still chasing or being chased, looking for something other than what they have thrown away in the past. I don't know what that's about. Perhaps a fear of missing out, but it's a known fact. It's not even just opinion that there are a lot of brothers that are in these nursing homes. And she said middle-aged. Middle age is 50-ish and probably lower than that now, because the morbidity table has people, I would imagine, dying earlier. So middle age, let's go for the sake of argument, is about the age 50. And we
45 to 65.
Same difference. Same difference. So, and we do know that it has been a trend, I guess, within the last couple of years of brothers leaving up out of here a lot earlier than they're supposed to. So, is what they're saying based off of them hating Black men? As the one sister said at the end, we have to do better, right? We can't, we shouldn't do that type of stuff to each other. So that didn't come from to me, it didn't sound like they were being bitter. It sounds like it was an advisory, a warning, right? And I'm like, if I'm gonna get my warnings from anybody, I want to get it from somebody who know what the hell they talking about, not just some, as you say, bitter auntie who maybe has had a bad relationship with men or whatever. But those ladies are right there in what you call the middle of it all, and they're telling you what they see, and yet we want to dismiss it as them being bitter Black women. I think that's a little lazy, but that's just my opinion.
And like I said, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm going to tell you again, if we asked men that work in nursing homes, whatever, they would tell you almost the exact same thing when it comes to Black women. You know, we got to stop pinpointing, oh, this, everybody's going to have their opinion, their bias, or whatever the deal is. Because like I said, I don't even think it's a Black man thing. Why couldn't it even just be men in general? Middle-aged men are bitter that have the same attributes that were single and that were players. It could be white, Asian, whatever. I bet you if you put all of those groups together, it would be the same thing. But I know we're talking about Black men.
Let me give you statistics since you brought it up. So it's a distribution of let's see, it says what I asked is what percentage of Black men are in nursing homes. This particular one said, and this was done in 2014, so I don't know if it'd be worse or better. Mm-hmm. It says American Indian, 0.4, Asian, 1.7, Black, not Hispanic, 14.2, Hispanic or Latino, 5.3. And let's see if I can get the other one as far as white people. Let's see. It says white people, and I guess it's 77.9. Keeping in mind of population.
Sure, absolutely. Again, because it has to deal with it within the population. If we're 14%, what they're talking about there is 14% of our 14% as a population is the deal. Because it's funny how people, they look at the numbers and they don't really understand how to use the numbers. But anyway, but again, yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I would not say, and again, I'm not saying that their experience is invalid. I'm not saying that. I mean, maybe in their experience, they're dealing with these dudes, whatever. But at the same time, I can also say there's a lot of single women that are probably in these nursing homes. And, and I have personal experience knowing that you've got women that I know of that are in these homes and they're just as bitter. So it's sad, but I agree. We need to do better as a people, but we're in a different world. We're dealing with a different situation here.
And I'm trying to find the statistics on women so that I can be fair. So hopefully I'll find it by the time we are done here. But see, my thing is this. Women are expected to be held accountable. Whenever a woman says, well, what about? Oh, y'all can't just focus on yourself. But here we are. These videos were about brothers and what they have seen. And somehow we've shifted it, to women. So to say that what they're saying about brothers doesn't mean it's not true for the sisters. See, that's why I'm the type of person I like to focus on the bouncing ball, because what we do is we deviate all over the place and we don't really get down to a solution of how to not have that happen. And I'm not a man, so I really can't speak on it. Although I've had, interactions with men, obviously, right? But I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. It's not the first time we've heard that. Hell, we've had some women that are nurses that are in nursing homes that's in the comment section and said the same thing. So this is not a bitter Black woman, because when you dismiss it as bitter Black women, then you don't focus on the problem. Like everything, all the answers can't be because a Black woman is bitter. It's like, to me, when I see people argue the same old point, I'm like, do you have anything else in your repertoire? And I'm like, okay, I'm not saying it's about you necessarily. I'm just saying in general, it's kind of lazy. That's the
you are. But go ahead.
Well, no, because I see it a lot online. People use this go-to argument. Let's say somebody's talking about a man, and a woman might say, well, why don't the same thing is true for men? It's like, why can't you just argue or discuss the topic at hand? Why does it always have to be a ricochet? Well, what about men? That's not an argument. That's a distraction. That's a deflection. So what we need to do, especially here, is have that conversation. How do we avoid men, specifically Black men, from being in that situation? Because normally, not always, but when somebody's in a nursing home, maybe they're, and let's say they're not too severe, like they are going to die or something, they really need to be there. But a lot of times when people in nursing homes, it's because nobody else wants to take care of them. Maybe their spouse don't want to take care of them, or maybe there's nobody to take care of them, and so they are in nursing homes where somebody else is doing the job, and usually it's a nurse. And so per those sisters' testimonies, they say oftentimes that they are bitter and they're angry. And let's have that conversation.
Well, again, what you heard and what I heard, interpretation might be different. Did she not say and generalize that men are bitter, whatever, these are the players or whatever? Didn't she generalize that? Didn't she generalize? Because she didn't live their life. Didn't she generalize that, though?
That she did not generalize that.
She did. She said they're players. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know that.
So that when me and you aren't arguing, I'll play it again.
Okay, let's go ahead.
So let me do that so we could get the gist of exactly.
She said that these were the players and all this other stuff.
Okay, I did hear her say that, but let's be sure as to what she said. You know what? Let me see.
If you look at these hospitals and these statistics, actually, the nurses will tell you that the people who die alone are men. It's not.
I don't care what anybody has to say about what I'm about to say, because in my almost 20 years as a nurse, the most bitter, angry, nasty, rude patients are middle-aged to old Black men that have never been married. I don't know if it's because they feel like they never had a woman that loved them or took care of them. And a lot of them, here's what happened. There was a player, there was a hoe, they played the field. They had lots of the girl that got away. And now when they old and used up and sick, don't nobody want them. Now you mad at the world. But when you had some good ones, you ain't do them right. But those are the most difficult patients. And I hate it. I hate that for us, because why do we do that to our own people? I'm here to help you. Instead, you rather be a bitter asshole. Talk to y'all uncles, grandpas, and daddies, because if they want to be like that, keep them at home. Why y'all don't take care of them?
Okay, what did you hear? You're on mute. You're on mute.
She said player, hoe, played the field. She's generalizing.
So
she doesn't know what these men. She doesn't know these men's lifestyles.
She said something else before that. She said most have never been married.
How does she know that? How does she know that?
She works in a nursing home. Why you don't think she has a chart or info? So you think they just will these do?
No. I agree with that. No. I'm just asking you. How did she know? Okay, great. I can see that.
You asked me how she knew. So because now we're gonna be silly. You asked me how she knew. Wait a minute. When we've all been checked into a hospital before, and didn't nobody roll us up in there and say, "Here's John Doe." And I don't know nothing about it. When you go into a hospital or you even go to the doctor, they have your statistics, your vitals. Have you been married? How many children do you have? So you're asking a question of how does she know that? That's how she would know that.
Right. But my point is, we know that stupid stuff about it. What we're saying is, how does she know they were players? How does she know they were hoes? How does she know that they played the field? She doesn't know that information. She's generalizing.
So that I would agree. That she probably doesn't.
That's what I'm talking about.
Unless she maybe had some conversations with, I don't know. But one thing I did take up, she has 20 years of experience, okay? I think that counts as to knowing what you're talking about. Now, maybe she's had some conversations with these men, and maybe they have told her that. And I will say, I know men in that situation that have never been married and have played the field. Now, of course, she did not say all. She said, in her opinion, so maybe in where she's at, she said most, and then she said a lot of them. So she didn't say all of them. So that's not a generalization.
Again, I'm not here to argue whatever the deal is. She's an expert in her field and she's entitled to her opinion. But again, I'm not trying to deflect. It is what it is. It's just like Saturday when we were talking about, remember we had that person on the show and they were saying this man, this man, this. That's not a man. See, women don't understand the difference between men and boys and guys playing around and all this other stuff. So when women always say what a man should be, right? Oh, a man should be this, a man should be this, a man that. I would agree. A man should be these things. But the man you're talking about isn't that. And that's the difference. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying in this area right here, I'm not disputing that the fact that men are in there and they're whatever. But I can tell you from my experience, I could go into the same nursing homes and you will find a lot of bitter aunts and bitter people in there, just as much.
Got you. So I'm going to actually answer the question because we done went off all on left field with the blame game. But again, as I say, when women do it, then, oh, she tripping.
No,
she
it's not a blame game.
Well,
no, wait. You cut me off one time. It's not a blame game. Don't say that. Don't say that. It's not a blame game. I'm just giving you my opinion.
But it's a blame game because I'm going to answer the question. Okay. I'm going to solve the problem. And from what I can see, okay. I suck at math, but I know when there's a problem, you're trying to solve it. Okay. So the issue was the brothers, as far as she could see, and the other sister said, are in these nursing homes, and most of them have not been married. And she says that they're bitter, blah, blah, blah. And they've spent their life, some of them being players and hoes. That's the problem. Okay. We plug in the problem. So we solve it. And this is how I would solve it is, as they said, and I said in the beginning, in the nation, settle down to a good choice. Because eventually, not even if you're a man or you're a woman, you're going to be there when you spent your whole life chasing, tricking off and messing over good people. Eventually, you're going to be a very old individual, whether you're a man or a woman, probably in a nursing home. Because if you were that way to a man or a woman, you were probably that way to your children too. Because a lot of times, if you don't have a man or a spouse or whatever, a woman to take care of you, then comes your children. They might take you in. And so if somebody is in that situation, more than likely, not all the time, they don't have children either that want to take them in, probably because they've been horrible people. So to solve the problem, become a better human, do right by everybody in your life. If you got a good one, and this is for men and for women, don't mess them over, because a lot of times when you're out there chasing everything that ain't nailed down, whether you are a man or a woman, those people do not have your better interest at heart. They are just there for right now, right? You there? It's a short term. But we, especially when we get older, should be looking for long-term investments, whether it's money, whether it's whatever, and especially people. Are you trying to be with somebody for the long term or the short term? A lot of those people, I'd imagine she's talking about, we're in it for the short term. Oh, ho, 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 the warm and fluffy. Oh, I like her right now. And then see something else with a cuter skirt and a bigger butt, and they go chasing that. And then eventually when they get 60, 70, 80, they don't have a companion, and they sitting there with regret, reminiscing about wouldn't it have been nice? Oh, I remember Shirley back in the day. Shirley sure was good to me. I sure should have treated her right. Now she off in a rocking chair with the dude who did treat her right. If I would have had some sense or whatever for a woman, vice versa. So my solution is stop screwing over good people, become a better person, evolve. And also, as I said, if you're that way to your spouse or your significant other, you're probably that way to your children too. So you need to do some self-reflection and figure out how to become a better human.
Amen.
So let's move on to the next topic. Next, we are going to talk about, let me see. Let's let's talk about this one from Harley Initiated. This is I believe it's Selena Johnson. Okay, so let's see. She's talking about she says to stop setting standards, and I believe she is talking to women. So let's go ahead and put this up here. Oops.
Women, stop setting standards and start setting boundaries. If you set boundaries, you don't need standards. He got to make over $100,000 a year. He need a car. He need to have a job. He need to have this. I need him to be tall, dark skinned. He need to have a 6-pack stomach. He need a Caesar cut. He needs or dreads. I like him with beard. So those are your standards, but you ain't got no boundaries. So God say, okay, here you go. He come in there, you ain't got a boundary set. He done ran up your credit card bills. He done cussed your ass out. He talked to you crazy, come to the house when he feel like it. But if you set boundaries, oh, I don't do calls after this time. Oh, no, I go to church on this day. No, I'm not doing that. No.
Okay. So, again, that was Selena Johnson. You guys know her. She's a singer. I think she's on Fox Queens or something like that as well. Most notably, she sang with Kanye West, All Falls Down. So again, she's making the difference between standards and boundary. Standards are the things that, from what she's saying, a woman will say he has to be, as Dave said, Lord knows, 6 feet tall, 6-figure, and 6-pack or whatever else. So she's saying those are standards. And she's saying, but women need to start setting boundaries. As she said, no, you cannot call me after a certain time, and this, that, and the other. So, Donovan, what is your opinion on that?
Delusional. I'm going to say delusional, not in what she's saying, because she's a married woman. So she's coming from that aspect of somebody who's married. So she has experience with that. You don't set boundaries unless you're into something. Now, here's where I have a problem as a man, and I never understood that. She's saying standards when she should be saying requirements. I don't know if she means it in the same context or whatever, because your standard is this. Like if you play basketball, the standard is the rules are already set. This is the boundary. You can't go outside of this. You can't go outside of that. That's the game. So if we're talking about the game of dating and love, the standard is I shouldn't be beating this woman, right? The standard is I should be doing such and such and such. Now, my requirement of a woman, right? Let's just say, this requirement is not a standard. That's what I'm saying. It's almost like we get the thing confused, or I don't know if we're just changing the mantra of what the word means.
She actually had it correct. I just Googled it. She had this standard correct.
So what's the Google definition?
It says level of quality or attainment.
Right.
So she's actually right.
It's the same word. So it's the same word.
Well, no, she's right in using the word standard. Standards are, like she's saying, like the quality, and if a quality is in a man, you can have a man.
I got you. But if that's quality, how does $100,000 fall into that standard?
Because if a man could have a job,
right?
But what quality standard of job does he have? Is he working at McDonald's and making $7.25 an hour?
Right.
And if my standard is he has 6 figures, then he can't be making $7.25 an hour. He has to be making 6 figures. And so she was saying, instead of women having those, they need to have boundaries, like setting limits on, how a man respects you and how he sees you. And she's saying women don't have that.
Okay. So do you see how even I was confused in regards to the standards and the requirements? Because again, I don't use standards when I'm having requirements. So like my requirement of a woman is she's got to be brick house, 34, 24, 36, whatever. That's a requirement, not a standard. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if it's maybe because I'm a man or I look at it differently. I don't know. But to me, standards and requirements are two different things. I require a woman to know how to cook. I require you to do this. Like you said, within the requirement of cooking, the standard is she should cook like my mama. See what I'm saying? So I don't know where that is, but I'm not going to say she's wrong. Like I said, once you get into something and you get into it, there's an old saying, Demetra, a person can only do what you allow them to do. And I'll land my plane there.
Yeah, and then, for what I looked at, the requirement and standard are the same thing. So, I wasn't confused because per requirement it says essential, needed, or necessary. So if you have a standard, you're saying those things, 6 figures, 6 feet, and whatever, 6 pack. I don't know. That you're saying as a personal thing. That's a standard / requirement. So they're actually the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They're the same, but I think it's maybe the wording or something, because I don't know. It's like when you go to a job. The job says you got to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree to get the job, to interview. That's the minimum. That's the standard, right? Or the requirement. So it's kind of interchangeable. So I guess it's the same thing.
Yes, because originally you were saying, delusional is what you said, because you were confused on the definition of what she was saying. That's why I want.
No. When I was saying delusional, I meant when women make these unrealistic in these shows. Remember I told you, like, you don't watch Kendra G, but I was talking about Kendra G where this woman wants $500,000 and she's never dated a man that did that. That's what I mean by delusion. I wasn't like saying Selena herself, but there's a lot of delusional women out there that make these delusional standards and requirements. And it's like, you're delusional. If the average man makes $48,000, how do you come up with $500,000 to $100,000 salary? It just doesn't make sense. It's delusional.
So a boundary is a line that marks the limits of an area, dividing line. So boundary, as she was saying, and I thought Selena was clear. A boundary is, like she said, no, you cannot call me after a certain time. On Sundays, I do this, that, and the other. And I thought about that. And I agree. I think everybody should have boundaries, regardless if you're a man or a woman. But since she's speaking of women, and I am one, yeah, I think women should have boundaries. I think a lot of times women don't have boundaries, especially when it comes to a relationship or somebody they like, because they don't want to scare the man off. And listen, I'm not saying anything bad about men. Again, I'm going to preface this because unfortunately, some people go to left field with something I did not say, did not intend on saying. So I want to keep putting that disclaimer in there, because I just know some people, they don't. Let me get back to what I was saying. Yeah, women a lot of times don't set boundaries. And everybody should set boundaries. But as I was saying, because I'm a woman, yeah, we should set boundaries. There's certain things that you should not allow a man to do, or even let him believe that he can do. I had a friend a long time ago who said that he kept on showing up to his girlfriend's house late when he was taking her on dates. He'd show up hour, 2 hours late, just whenever he got ready. He told her I'll be there at 6 and he'd get there at 8. So she said she would be mad, but she would go with him. But he said the last time he did that, he showed up like 2 hours late, knocked on the door, and she says, what's up? He says, I'm here to take you out. And she says, I'm not going. I got undressed. I'm not going with you. He says, why? She says, because you were supposed to be here 2 hours ago and you did not show up, and you always show up late and you don't respect me or my time. So he said, he was like, come on, just let me get open the door. Let's go. And she says, no. So she finally decided to set a boundary. And he said it was because of that he stopped showing up late. He says, but had she not set that boundary, he would have kept doing it thinking it's all right. And so I think everybody should have boundaries as a human. There's things you cannot do to me. And if you don't like it, then hey, there's the door. Oh, and stop calling me, stop texting me. But see, when you speak to people in those terms about your personal boundaries, then they like to say, oh, you tripping. Oh, you this or you that. Now, sometimes people boundaries may be a little bit much or whatever. But let's say like you just met somebody and you're going out on the first date and they want to kiss. Nah, partner, this is the first date. We don't really know each other like that, let alone be putting our lips together. Let's get to know each other. But there's some people out there where she was tripping. All I asked is for a kiss. And so I'm not going to date her. Well, then that woman would say, then you ain't my man. Because these are my boundaries. And I'm setting them just like men, have boundaries or whatever. And so boundaries are very important, because if you don't set boundaries, then that other person, no matter who it is, they don't know where your respect level is. What can and boundaries just also tell the other person what I can and cannot do to them, what they will and will not allow me to do. And that's okay. If you don't like it, then that person too, especially if you get to know them, they say, all right, they didn't like my boundaries, then that ain't the person for me. Next. So yeah, people need to start setting boundaries.
I'll agree 100%. But the thing is, my issue is this. I agree with you, but the thing is, shouldn't you have been raised with boundaries? When you're with your parents, they give you certain rules, whatever, and you're supposed to have certain boundaries within yourself. To me, it's amazing that I would run into a person that doesn't have boundaries. And I have run into some women that didn't have any boundaries. I've run into women that didn't have any boundaries. And I thought that was very troubling that that person would allow this to go on or allow me to do this to her or whatever the deal is. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a self-esteem thing or whatever, but I think it's in the human nature that you should have boundaries. Now, why people don't have boundaries, maybe it's because they're afraid to be by themselves. Maybe it's, like you said, afraid for them to lose a man. There's millions of men out here, ladies. There's millions of men. What one man won't do, there's a man out there that will. So that fear of being without, it's a ridiculous fear that you should just throw out of your mind. Because again, your boundaries, if a man won't, and I'm going to tell you as a man, if a man won't respect your boundaries, we definitely won't respect you.
Yeah, and regardless of where they're supposed to get the boundaries to learn how to set boundaries, if they set the boundaries, whether they're grown or young or whatever, those boundaries should be respected. And if they're not respected, then that person should leave. Like you said, you've met some people who didn't have boundaries and they just kind of let you do whatever. But the other thing is, why in that same question, if I flip it, why do I need to set a boundary? Why do I need to set a boundary with somebody who may not know better? You should know better, right? You should know there's certain things they shouldn't do. But again, for everybody, a boundary is different. Maybe somebody don't have a problem with being kissed on the first date or whatever it is. But there's people who do have an issue for whatever reason. And so I just say in life, if you don't set boundaries, it affects your mental health, it affects your emotional health, and it even affects you financially, right? You're not going to go out on a date. A boundary is you take a woman on a date. Your boundary is, listen, sweet thing, you not getting everything on this menu. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't say that, and unfortunately in this dating world, that's been an issue with some women wanting to go out on a date with a man and she want to order everything on the menu. And he's like, oh, I ain't paying for you to have, 10 drinks or whatever. Or the woman says, I want to get a doggy bag for or order something for my kids. Yeah, that's a boundary, right? That's a boundary. But in the vein, why do I got to even tell you that? But since the woman made that an issue, well, thank you for this dinner, honey. But I got 10 kids at home. I'm going to get them something. You're going to say, getting a separate check. That's a boundary, right? And then with that, and she says, well, that's messed up. If you want to date me, then, I got all these children. You're going to have to take care of them too. You say, my boundary is I was taking you out. I wasn't doing all of that. And I'm not going to allow you to step over my boundary. So you can order all you want, but you will be ordering on your dime, not mine. And then from that point, you make a decision. Since this woman does not respect my boundary, I am not going to see her again. That's why boundaries are important, because unfortunately, everybody don't know how to respect a boundary or even just assume a boundary, right? Like even back in the day, I'm not saying it wasn't men who weren't forward or women who weren't forward back in the day, but most of the time, a man when he was taking a woman out, you probably not getting up under her skirt like that. You might want to, but that wouldn't be your assumption, because most women back then was like, I don't do that with you on the first date. That's a boundary. And if you don't respect my boundary,
do other things.
No, that's within the boundary, sucker. Okay, we not doing. See what I'm saying? So everybody has to have boundaries. Like she said, don't be calling me all times of night. As it was once said, I think it was Shanae from Martin. Only thing that's open at 2:00 in the morning is the Denny's and somebody legs. It ain't gonna be mine. So call me at a decent hour. But those are the boundaries. Like you said, we learned when we was kids. You couldn't call my house after 9 o'clock. You get cussed out or get, a very nice lecture how you don't call people homes after 9 at night. So
unless it's an emergency, something that has to be, and which is rare. Like I said, my house, I don't care who you are. You could be my wife, my woman, whatever. I don't pick up my phone after 10 o'clock. I just don't do it. I won't do it.
I mean, like I said, it's an emergency. I've had people call me at certain times, especially because I'm in, Central Time Zone, and most of the people I know are on the West Coast. That's a different story. That's not a habit, but, especially in relationships or when you're getting into a relationship, I think people should have do's and don'ts. Now those do's and don'ts ridiculous. That's for you to decide. So because everybody have a do's do and don't list. And if they make that clear and you don't like that list, then don't engage with that person. That's a little bit too much for me, sweetheart. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. Because like you said, and I say all the time, there's men who don't want to date women with children. That's a do's and a don't. If you date women with children, you might set a boundary. Oh, if I'm gonna be in the child's life, or y'all coming over my house for the weekend, bedtime for the children is 9 o'clock. Okay. They're not going to be up all night or whatever, so you have to have boundaries. It's like a roadmap, personal roadmap for you and for other people. Oh, no, she ain't that type of, because I'll tell y'all right now, growing up, I was known as, Demetra ain't that type of woman. She ain't that type of girl because I have boundaries. No, sucker. No. With her, yes. With me, no. And I'm still like that.
That's why you look at Demetra's sister. You say, yeah, that's the fun girl right there. You can have fun with Demetra, not sexually. I'm talking about have fun.
Oh, her boundaries.
Demetra was kind of like, I ain't doing that. I don't want to go to the basketball.
Let me tell you how cold my sister is with her boundaries. She went on a date with this guy. She'd known him for a while or whatever. They went to the movies. Pull up to the movies. He said, oh, I forgot my wallet. She said, let's go. Take me home and let's go back and get your wallet. Now, it's not that she couldn't have paid for it, but she was like, sucker, you ain't finna run no game on me. No, that's a classic. You forgot your wallet. You won't be forgetting it on me because you invited me to this movie. Now, most women would have said, oh, that's okay, honey.
Is that where I messed up with your sister? Is that where I messed up with her?
You might. You're cold, but you know what, though? I'm telling you, what you ain't going to do is play with her. Very nice, loving, fun person. Do anything for you. But as far as that's concerned, like, you ain't gonna play with me, sucker. Come correct or don't come at all. You won't be coming at all. So yeah, boundaries are important no matter who you are. Get some if you don't have some. And I agree with her. The other stuff, 6 feet, 6 figures, 6-pack. Those things come and go, right? You can always make money. Money comes and it goes. 6-pack, you do enough sit-ups and push your weights on the table, you get a 6-pack. But I agree, there's a lot of women out there, and I can only speak for women, that are passing up on a good man because he ain't checking off those boxes. Your man might be 5'9". He might be 5'4". He may be making $70,000 a year, $40,000 a year. But you're gauging a man by those things. There's men who are 6 feet, 6 figures, 6-packs, 6, whatever, and are horrible individuals. You just run around with somebody who look good with a lot of money. But
you're just in the rotation for guys like that.
Yeah. What else can you say about that person? Is he nice to you? Is he considerate, respectful? Does he keep his eyes on his own paper when it comes to other women? If you can't say that, all you can say is, oh, look at my man. Look at him in a box. Then you really just got something you could get anywhere. The quality of the man, not what he has should count. I mean, listen, I think a man should have some money too, not like money. That'd be nice too. But I always say, if you could take care of yourself and we could put together what we got, great. Let's go do something with it.
Well, the funny thing is this, and since we're dealing with numbers, and I took statistics and minored in physics and all that other stupid stuff, aeronautics has a lot of numbers to deal with it, right? Most of your 6 feet, whatever type guys, whatever, that's 13% of the whole male population is less than, is 6 feet tall. That's a small group within the men population. But let's talk about the black population. It's even I think it's like 11% or something like that, even smaller in the black population, people that are over 6 feet. I'm 5'10", so I'm an average size man. But here's the thing. A lot of those women that have those exact requirements, the majority of those men are cuffed up. They're locked down, and they've been locked down for a while because the woman saw the potential in that man from the beginning. Now, the very men that are of those requirements that are out here, they're playing the field because they can have their pick. these are the guys that, I'm not generalizing. Well, I am generalizing, but these are the guys that are just that, hey, I could do what I want to do, whatever. I'm out here. I'm not married, whatever. It's a small pool, ladies. And that's what kills me about these women today. When I look at these dating shows and they have these requirements, it's like, do you realize that 6 foot, it's a unicorn? It's a unicorn. You're looking for a unicorn. And if you do find the unicorn, you're in the rotation. You're in that rotation.
And I would say that's true for men looking for that Instagram baddies. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of men, not all, but a lot of men looking for the Instagram baddie that look like this, look like that, and But there's some flat booty women out there. Yeah, a lot of y'all men ain't gonna get with no flat booty women. Or if you have a type of woman, you ain't gonna say, well, that's probably a good woman. But even though she has the hairstyle I don't like, a lot of men are that way too. So at some point in time, I think men and women got to realize, the older you get, the less your value gets to it. I know it says true for women, but it's true for men too. Y'all value, goes down as well. Because after a while, you're going to have to say, all right, they ain't got the hair they got. They may be missing a tooth or something. And that 2 minutes can turn into 30 seconds or whatever. But what else is left to this man? Is he a good man? You want to get to the point in life, whether you're a man or a woman, say, he bald-headed and everything else, okay? But even still, I love that man. I would not be without him. I could not imagine life without him. I wouldn't trade him for El DeBarge. If El DeBarge came over here, Idris Elba.
You lying. Go ahead. You would leave that man and
listen. I might dip off. I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. No, but for real, you got to get to the point. I'm sweating. I'm hot. You got to get to the point to where you say, she's what I got. He's what I got. We rocking this till the wheels fall off. Cause big booty Belinda. There'll be one or two come along, but she ain't my girl. Or Muscle Mike, he might come along, but he ain't my man. My man is over there fat and bald, okay? Looking rolled hard and put away wet. But that's my man. That's the goal.
The goal is to be secure in your old age and grow old with somebody in your old age. The biggest mistake that we're making, and I can only speak about my community, that we're making in my community is I can do it on my own bullshit on both sides, but especially for the women. The women are more vulnerable because we live in a patriarchy, a semi-patriarchy. You guys are trying to break it down, but anyway, the facts are the facts. Women are being evicted. You guys have no covering. The most vulnerable in our community are these women that run around here. And I'm not saying all women. There are some women that can stand on their own and handle it and do what they got to do. But you got a lot of women in our community that are vulnerable. And we're seeing it every day as these women are pushed out. They don't have that extra income. They don't have it. They're not what they used to be. So now they can't even use that as an aspect. And it's on both sides. In our community, these men that are running around, like we talked about earlier in the show, these guys that were players and all of this other stuff, now they're sitting in the home bitter and mad and all this other stuff. The biggest problem we have in our community is the lack and promotion of marriage. And isn't it funny that the Democratic Party, the party that we vote for the most, pushes this agenda of breaking up the family? And we fall for it every time. We need each other at the end of the day, regardless of how I disagree with Demetra when it comes to relationships and how it's supposed to be looked at. I'm smart enough to know at the end of the day, I still need my woman.
Yeah. And that's what it boils down to. Stop chasing. Stop, trying to be chased. There's a newer, and Donovan, I think you say this, newer, younger model every day. And that goes for men and women. You got a lot of women out there who's still in the clubs, who's still, wearing that cat suit from 1989 out there at the VFW and even the younger clubs, the hookah clubs, trying to, get bent
The
over.
Jackson Lee was raising the roof, 78 years old.
I think she got a husband though. But yeah, there's there's women out there too, my age and older, still out there trying to have a hot girl summer. It's like, girl, you better sit down with them hot flashes, because I know you have some hot flashes right about now, but you're out there with the young girls. And that's what I said too. I stopped going to the club when I had my daughter. I had my daughter when I was 21 years old. Obviously, I stopped before then when I was pregnant, right? But I was like, that ship has sailed for me. But I knew women my age and, whatever, they had children that was still in the club, was not going to miss a weekend. They still out there. But I'm like, nah, my club is at home with this child, taking care of her. Because I never wanted my daughter to know me as my mama in the streets, my mama in the club. Where your mama at? Oh, I was at my grandmama all weekend because my mama was out there. That just was not going to be me, because I didn't want my daughter to do that, right? And so, unfortunately, there's a lot of women, they still clubbing with the grandkids now. Grandmama, ain't that some mess? Grandmama and the grandchildren in the same club, whether it's the hole in the wall, the hookah joint, wherever they partying together. That should be a crime in every state, in every universe, okay? To be partying and clubbing with your grandchildren. So I grow up, settle down with Buster. Buster may not be the man of your dreams, but you ain't gonna be living a nightmare by yourself. Talking about, ooh, child, sure wish I had somebody. I sure wish I would have said it. Because how long can you club? How long?
Let me ask you this question though, Demetra. Why is it that all this information is out there, and we know when we see, our grandparents that stayed together, or whatever, and how happy they are, whatever. How is it that we come up with this BS? Oh, grandma was miserable. She was this, but regardless of that, she still stayed with the man. Regardless, she's a woman of her time or whatever. She was miserable, whatever. I don't want to ever be like her, whatever. I'm looking at that when I hear women say that, and I say, but she has a man. In her old age, she has a man, but you're interpreting she lived a miserable life. Did she tell you that? Well, no, she didn't say that, but I can tell the way she lived. She was miserable. She couldn't do what she wanted to do. He controlled all the money. He did all this. So you think that your grandmother was so incompetent and she was being treated so badly that she just stayed there and took it? You actually believe that?
And I'm going to say, this is going to sound funny, but yeah, there's a lot of cases where grandma stood there and she took it. And it's funny, I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, because when we think about grandma, we always think about it, grandma and grandpa, we think of it either two ways. There's never any middle, right? We either think grandma and grandpa were happy, they never had any issues, or the other side, we think, oh, grandma and grandpa, they just had all these issues and they was miserable. But we never talk about the in-between. Because, yeah, there was a lot of women, and I know some who are, no longer here, but they did stay in a relationship with a man and took it. Because you got to remember back, and I'm not saying that's true for all men. There's a lot of great men, but I'm saying there's some cases, you got to remember back then, women, their goal was to get married. I'm not going to go off. I'm going to be a housewife. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, right? And I don't even know if that was even a thing. Like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. It was you just were, right? It was assumed that the man would go to work, one would stay home and be the housemaker and all that other stuff. But there were a lot of cases where, since women were taught, this is my job, my role is to be in this house, take care of this man and these children, no matter what happens, no matter what comes, no matter if I'm being physically abused or mentally abused or he's stepping out, my job is to hold down the fort no matter what. Women were taught that. They weren't taught that, and even through religion, they were taught, oh, you don't get a divorce. It has to be extreme. It's a sin to get divorces. And so women were tied to tradition and they were tied to religion, that I cannot leave this marriage because I'll be seen as a failure. I'm letting God down. I'm letting the community down. And I'm not talking about because, she couldn't get the dress that she wanted. I'm talking about extreme stuff, right? Because a lot of times when we have those conversations, we negate that extreme stuff did happen. But that woman was taught, I'm going to hold down the fort no matter what. So those things did happen. Just like there were men who were dealt the short end of the stick as well. Especially back before then, there weren't DNA tests like that at all. So while he was at work, grandpa and them, where y'all think the term the milkman came from? The kid, milkman's kid, because maybe she was dipping off with come in for some of these cookies with that. Maybe, maybe she was doing that and she gets pregnant and the grandpa thinks the child is his. He never knew. It was maybe speculated, but he never knew. So what I'm saying is we need to give those things in the middle of the conversation that no, grandma wasn't always happy. No, grandpa wasn't always a bad dude, or he wasn't always happy. There's things that's true everywhere.
Right. Okay. And I get what you're saying. And that's in, a different time and place and how that does. That generation rebelled against traditional thing and they started taking on a different line. I'm talking about people today. When we're talking about grandparents, we're talking about me and you, our generation. So when I hear these younger people, not our generation, see what you just described was like we were the last ones to understand that, where the grandma stayed and all that other stuff. And you make great points. I'm talking about when I hear these younger women now talking about abusive relationships. First of all, young lady, your mom and dad never even got married. So what are you talking about?
But yeah, that don't mean it's not true.
No, I didn't say it. No, I'm not saying that's true, but I want you to understand the context of what these people are talking about versus what we talk about. So they bring up, grandma was this, whatever. And I said, even if your grandmother was all that, which would be, Demetra, you're 25, so maybe somebody else. Somebody in that era, my era, I'd be a grandparent right now. My brother's a grandparent. So our generation is more of grandparents. A lot of us, our generation did get married. So when I hear these younger women that are in their 20s talking about, he was abusive, he was this, he was that, I was like, well, they weren't even married. So what are you talking about?
Well,
they weren't even together like that. Yeah, so what are you talking about?
You don't need to be married to be abused.
No. I understand that. But then when I ask them reflecting questions, how do you know that? Would you experience it? No, I don't. Then what are you talking about? You watched the movie. Stop it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know these people you're talking about, but I do know that, like I said, there's a lot of things that's true. It doesn't always have to be one or the other. It's true that a lot of people's parents were never married, but maybe there was abuse somewhere, whether it was her or was him. And I think a lot of times when people are abused, they do share that information with other people, because I'm not one of those people that like to dismiss. Again, I don't know who you're speaking of, but I don't like to dismiss when people say they're abused. I know that some people say they're abused and they're really not abused. So I think it deserves a conversation whether somebody's saying they're abused or not, or they witnessed abuse, or they know somebody was abused. Because I know people, men and women, who were abused.
Sure, but I agree with you. You need to get more into the middle. You just can't say it's all men. It's, and that's why I tell these girls, it isn't just all men. You're in a different generation. So you saw a movie, you're watching The Color Purple, and you're projecting all this other stuff. And then when I ask these young women, have you been in an abusive relationship? Would you be in an abusive? Oh, no, I wouldn't take it. So what are you talking about? A lot of what's happening is it's information that's passed from one generation and it's passed down.
Yeah. Again, I don't know who these dingbats you're talking to are. So, but
So again, we have to put it in the middle. But a lot of these young people, from the bitter aunts and all these other people, and I say the bitter aunts. What I mean by the bitter aunts are these women. Their sexual value's gone. They're a little older. They're by themselves, just like the men that are players and they're by themselves out in the streets, homeless. They were the drug guys, and now they're just out there doing their thing. We all have it on both sides. It's on both sides. But at the end of the day, I'm seeing more of these bitter aunts sabotaging these young women and putting this stuff in their head to where they think all men are predatory and just dangerous. And we are in general, but they're making it to where, well, all men ain't good. I've seen a lot of young entrepreneurs in the last four years, guys that have taken off doing what they're supposed to do, doing great guys. Some of these guys are really kind of feminine to me. But the point is, These younger girls are coming in with the mindset that men are no good. And they're getting that information from these bitter aunts and people of our generation. If we're by ourselves, we're bitter about it. And we, like you said, we need to go to the middle.
Yeah, and I believe that's true. There's these bitter aunts and stuff, but I also know women and younger women who don't believe that all men are no good and things like that because they have men in their lives, like their fathers and their uncles, to impart different information onto them and to show them good examples. Perhaps those women also don't have a good example as to what a good man is, and so there's nothing to oppose what these bitter aunts are saying, right? So we also got to usher the man into the conversation because a woman, just like a woman won't know a good man if she's never been around any, and a man won't know a good woman unless he's been around some of them, So that has to happen. And along with the bitter aunties, there's the bitter or the silly uncles, I guess, who are telling their nephews or whatever, you don't trust no woman. She only good for one thing. Oh, have you a couple of one? Oh no, you got to get you a roster. You got to get you one with this and that. So yeah, just like there's these bitter aunties, these uncles out there that's keeping a lot of men single as well, teaching their sons and nephews that a woman is only good for one thing.
Right, or manhood is having a bunch of women and children that you're not taking care of. That's the wrong message.
The older people in our community need to get some doggone sense. Stop being silly, because I agree there's the older people that are keeping some of these younger people single because the younger people looking to the older people for knowledge and wisdom. And if they getting silliness off of, like you say, the bitter aunties, they done been rode hard, put away wet all through town their whole life. And then when it comes down to them, it ain't no more, the engine ain't working no more. Now they want to sit up and espouse their bad decisions as life experiences onto other people. Well, when I was, and if I was you, I ain't you, auntie. I'm not you. And I would say if you are somebody that has a bitter auntie or a silly uncle and they're not giving you anything that you can use, say, you know what? I'm going to need you to just give me the recipes to the macaroni and cheese. I don't need you to tell me what kind of man I need to be looking for. Because for one, you ain't with one. And all the things you telling me about men is negative. So if you are 60 years old and all the experiences that you had with men are negative, auntie, with all respect, might it be you? Because you mean to tell me you ain't come across not one good man in your life that would have been a good uncle for me, or you could have settled down, So is there anything that from your point of view, things that you've done that you can warn me not to do?
Right. And it's kind of funny that you bring that up, because these mad aunties, when it comes to their son, oh no, you ain't gonna do this to my, they're so defensive of their son, or if it was their dad, if their dad was a good guy in life, whatever it is, they're very defensive of that. But all men ain't no good. But here's a good thing, and I've noticed this too. A lot of younger women, and I'm talking about 25 and younger, are coming out of it, and they're saying, you know what, this ain't working. They're seeing single motherhood is not the route to go, and I'm going to tell you that. There's a difference between a widowed mother or a widowed girl who lost her boyfriend by some accident. That's a totally different scenario. And the community should rally around those women, because it's something beyond, it's not their fault. It's beyond, their control. That's what we're supposed to do. But a lot of these young girls are now seeing, from example, single motherhood, single fatherhood is not the route to go. It's just not. It's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. So as a community, Black people in general, we need to start making babies. We need to, in a responsible way, making babies so that we can have political power. When the next census comes by, who do you think is going to get most of the resources when the next census comes by? And Demetra, you know how the census works. Who do you think is going to get those resources? But what is the Democratic Party pushing in the Black community? Deletion of your children. You should have the right to delete your kids. You know what? No, Black people, as our group is shrinking in this country, we should not be doing that at this point.
Yeah, and they're passing it off as reproductive rights. Oh, it's reproductive rights. They just rebranded, as you said, the deletion of babies as reproductive rights. But the other thing too, in order to have children to take care of them, we need to be on our square as a community We need to practice group economics. That's mostly, I would imagine, why people don't have babies, is because like I can't afford to take care of it, even though the common sense thing would be, well, stop laying down and making them. I guess that's all too simple. But all the other communities as well, they have an economic base where they could take care of these children, and they also have the village mindset. In our community, we don't have that as much as we used to. Well, I ain't taking care of nobody else's kids. That ain't my responsibility. So you can't. We those things we have to have. We have to have money, and we have to have the village mindset, because it does take a village to raise a child. So
absolutely. Do we have one more to go?
We do, but we don't have time.
Sure we do. Go ahead.
All right, so let's see. Okay, this next one is what did I say his name was? Michael Porter Jr. Yes, he's what do you call it? He's a guard for the Denver Broncos, Denver Nuggets.
Denver Nuggets. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so let's see. I started losing my mind. I haven't eaten today. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Where'd it go? I had to do it the long way because the short way ain't working.
Oh, yeah. I heard about this guy. Yeah, go ahead.
Oops.
We'll be out, and there's sometimes girls around and things like that, and they'll approach you, they'll come up to you and, are you single? My friend really likes you, things like that. And not even just athletes, but the majority of men, when they have pretty girls approaching them and things like that, it is very hard, especially, you're on the road, got your own hotel room, you could do something, nobody knows about it. Like, I know that's something that in my profession and just in my realm that's something that people struggle with. I really respect a dude who gets married and then he stays faithful, because for me, I'm not getting married until I've developed the discipline to know for a fact I can be faithful to one woman for the rest of my life. But
so I actually was looking at quite a few videos of him, and at the end, he says he's not getting married to anybody until he has the discipline. But he was also saying, sounds like he's making a lot of money or set up to make a lot of money. He was also saying
NBA champion. Yeah, he's an NBA champion. So.
Yeah. So he was saying how for him, it's hard to know what woman would be there for him, because he says things have changed. This is what he's saying. He's 25, by the way, that there's a lot of women out there trying to game the system, get over, things like that. So, and somebody also sent me a clip of D.L. Hewley was talking about it. I guess he said he was reading how this particular guy was saying how he sees that Steph Curry and LeBron James, they've been married to their, college and high school sweethearts. And so it sounds like he would love to have something like that. But in the meantime, he just going to hold his chips until further notice. But for me, seeing that, I love that as a young man, he gets it. It takes discipline to be in a committed relationship. And until he is able to possess that, then he's not going to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's an NBA champion. And it seems like to me, he has somebody very positive in his life. What's going on with my charger here? Somebody positive in his life that kind of gave him the game and stuff. And again, if I was an NBA player, with all the examples you see of these predator women running around and stuff, I mean, your Brittany Renners, these people that are out there. It's just like Louis Gossett, rest in peace. What did he say in An Officer and a Gentleman? Oh, don't worry about it, Sweet Pete.
I think we lost Donovan. Yeah, so apparently we lost Donovan. He got unplugged somehow. So anyway, I am going to end the show. So in the meantime, you all, we will be back, I think, right? At 5 o'clock Central Time, and we are going to talk about maybe politics. I don't know, but you guys will know when we know. In the meantime, if you guys could do us a favor and support the channel, there's various ways to do it. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, subscribe, like, whatever way you see fit. But every bit that you all do really does help keep this channel going. So in the meantime, I will see you all just a little bit later. Peace.